Welcome to the show. I'm William,
And I'm Kat.
and that makes this Info on the Go.
We're answering questions you want to know.
I don't know, in some countries, most countries have food product labels, at least in the Western part of the world, where if you pick up any kind of package, it's going to have that here in the US anyway. Based on 2000 calories, and it's got like all these different vitamins and fats and trans fats and saturated fats. But what does all that really mean?
Yep. Right. I mean, supposedly it helps consumers better understand and compare the nutritional content of foods.
But could those labels be telling you a lie? Could they be misunderstood? However, it's important to note that this food package label it's a reference point. It's not a recommended daily calorie intake for everyone. So today, Kat and I are going to get into what that really means.
hmm So the FDA uses the 2000 calorie benchmark to create a uniform system for calculating daily values, or DV in this case.
Yeah, and this allows for easier comparison of nutrient amounts across various food products, right?
Right, right. But it's not meant to suggest that everyone should consume exactly 2000 calories each day. I mean, because that also depends on how much you're exercising or, whatever.
Yeah. The 2000 calorie number, it was selected because it really represents an average daily calorie intake for many adults, not
Not
all adults.
exactly, not all adults. It's a practical and widely relatable figure used to simplify nutritional guidelines.
Yeah, so not everyone's daily calorie requirement matches the 2000 calorie benchmark on that label.
The factors here, like age, gender, body size, activity level, and individual metabolism, really determine how many calories you actually need. So, for example,
Yeah, like Kat was talking about, if you're very active, you may require more than 2000 calories. Then there's those with that sedentary lifestyle that require a very special diets because of health conditions, and they may need fewer calories.
Mhm. And the percentages you see on nutrition labels are based on what someone consuming 2000 calories per day might aim to include or limit in their diet. And for example,
Yeah, fat, less than 65 grams daily. Saturated fat, it's less than 20 grams daily. Cholesterol, the intake would be less than 300 milligrams daily. Sodium would be less than 2,000, 2,300 milligrams daily. And fiber would be somewhere around 28 milligrams daily.
these values provide a guideline to help consumers make healthier dietary choices, but they should be adjusted based on your unique dietary needs and goals.
So, understanding the 2,000 calories a day reference can empower you to make an informed food choices while accounting for your personal health and nutritional requirements.
But
Oh,
here's another big thing
there
about
was an
nutrition labels.
there was an exclamation mark at the end of that. So, should I say nutritional requirements?
I don't know. I don't want to yell at folks,
Yeah, I don't either.
but that's funny.
Whoever wrote this jacked it all up.
Yeah, it'll be all right. But here's another big thing about nutrition labels that trips people up. Is serving size.
Oh yeah, every number you see on a U.S. Nutrition fact label, calories, fats, sodium, protein, it's calculated based on the serving size listed at the top.
The problem? That serving size isn't necessarily the amount people actually eat in one sitting.
Oh no, because that bag of chips that says two, the grab bags are two serving sizes. I can eat one of those.
hmm
Um, until recently, a lot of these serving sizes were based on eating habits from the 1970s and the 1980s.
So that meant you could have a bottle of soda that magically contained two or even three servings, even though most people would drink it all in one go.
I'm here to tell you, I'm gonna drink my Coke all in one go.
Same.
Yeah. Oh, you're going to drink Coke now. All right. So the FDA updated these in 2016, with most changes rolling out by 2020 to better reflect real world eating patterns. I didn't give you a chance to answer.
That's okay. I'll choose Pepsi if I have a choice, but I'll drink Coke if there's no other option.
There's no other option. You're in the South.
Well, for example, a reference serving of soda went from 8 ounces to 12 ounces, and ice cream from half a cup to two-thirds of a cup.
So the goal was to make the math more honest. So if you're likely to eat it all at once, the label should show the full calorie and nutrient hit. So in other
And
words, if the package size says two, you should know what all you're going to consume if you're going to consume the whole package, basically, is what we're saying.
right, but still, there's a catch. Plenty of packages that look like they're a single portion, think oversized muffins or grab bag chips, like William said, can actually contain two or more servings.
Yeah. So I guess you just got to stick with the muffin tops.
Right. Just the tops of them, okay, not the bottoms.
So if you don't check, you might be getting double or triple the calories, sugar, and sodium that you think you are. So the serving size line, that's your first clue before reading the rest of the label. So that should be where you start.
So what about the fat-free, cholesterol-free, and sugar-free labels? What do they really mean?
Yeah, foods labeled as fat-free, calorie-free, or sugar-free might still have some calories or sugar in them. It's just a tiny amount.
Front labels can be tricky, so it's smarter to check the nutrition facts on the back of the package to know what's really inside.
So, Kat, why don't you start us off and then we'll kind of take these one by one and we'll kind of give a simple breakdown of common label terms for our listeners. What do you think?
Sounds good. So, free means there's a really small amount, like under 5 calories or zero point 0.5 grams of sugar or fat per serving. And these might still have artificial sweeteners or hidden ingredients.
So, low. This one is it's a bit more than free, but still on the lower side. For example, low fat means 3 grams of fat or less per serving, and low sodium means 140 milligrams or less per serving.
Reduced. This means a product has at least 25% less of something like sugar or fat compared to the regular version.
So, wow, so compared to the regular version of it.
Hmm.
So light. The product has about one third fewer calories or 50% less fat than usual. Sometimes it's about sodium or even color or texture.
High or good source. These terms tell you something that has a lot of a nutrient, like protein or fiber, 20% more for high, and about 10 to 19% for a good source.
And then you have lean or extra lean, and these are used for meats showing they're lower in fat or cholesterol content. Really depends on the cut of meat you get. And if you get those extra lean, really doesn't have that much more fat in it.
Right. And one more big change to US labels in recent years is added sugars.
Oh yeah. Since 2020, the FDA has required that nutrition labels list added sugars separately from total sugars.
But this means you'll now see two lines, one for total sugars, which includes both naturally occurring sugars and added sugars, and one for includes grams added sugars.
So, why does that really matter? It really is because not all sugars are created equal. So, why does this really matter? And the big reason is not all sugars are created equal in terms of nutrition and calorie intake.
Right, so natural sugars, like the one in fruit or plain milk, come packaged with fiber, protein, vitamins, and minerals.
Added sugars, on the other hand, are the extra sweeteners manufacturers put in during the processing, like cane sugar, corn syrup, honey, agave, even concentrated fruit juice.
The idea is to help consumers see just how much of the sweetness in their food is naturally there versus added in the factory.
Yeah, so a carton of plain yogurt might have 12 grams of natural milk sugar and no added sugars, while a flavored yogurt, on the other hand, might have the same natural sugars plus an additional 10 grams of added sugars.
The FDA's daily value for added sugars is 50 grams per day based on a 2,000 calorie diet, and that's about 12 teaspoons.
Wow.
I have more than that in my cup of coffee.
Oh, wow. I drink my coffee black.
Nope. Mine has got to be sweet.
Yeah. So you've pretty much killed your sugar intake on just one cup of coffee then. So knowing this can help you spot hidden sugar in foods that might not seem sweet at first glance, like pasta sauce, bread, or salad dressing.
And here's something a lot of people don't realize. The daily values you see on labels aren't carved in stone.
No. In 2020, the FDA officially updated many of these nutrition targets to reflect the latest nutrition science and public health data. You know, why don't you kind of dig into that, Kat?
So, for example, sodium dropped from 2,400 to 2,300 milligrams per day because even a small reduction can lower the risk of high blood pressure. And then dietary fiber went up from 25 grams to 28 grams for adults, as research showed most Americans still fall short of the amount needed for good digestion and heart health. And then, of course, we got added sugars that got their own daily value for the first time, no more than 50 grams per day.
Well, that's a huge one. So these changes don't mean everyone should eat exactly those amounts, right? They're still based on that 2,000 calorie reference diet we talked about in the beginning, but they do reflect more current thinking on what's healthy, and they make the labels a little more useful for everyday choices.
And then there are words that sound healthy but don't actually have a strict legal meaning, like natural or healthy.
Oh, yeah. In the US, the FDA has never created a consistent, enforceable definition for natural. So basically, anybody can put natural on their product.
Well, and as a result, products labeled all natural can still contain processed ingredients, refined sugar, and additives as long as they don't contain anything artificial that's been specifically banned.
Yeah. So that's why you might find natural granola bars sweetened with corn syrup or natural potato chips fried in oil. How do you have a natural potato chip? I mean, honestly and Julie, I don't think they don't grow
You-
in the wild
well, no, no. And I guess if you didn't want them fried in oil, you could always cook them in your oven.
or bake them. Yeah, I guess they could be baked.
hmm
Okay.
Baked potato chip. In any case, healthy is another fuzzy term.
The FDA has guidelines like being low in certain fats and sodium while containing beneficial nutrients, but they're outdated and have been the subject of ongoing debates and lawsuits.
So, for instance, some foods high in good fats, like almonds or salmon, didn't qualify under the old rules, while sugary cereals fortified with vitamins could.
So the bottom line, when you see natural or healthy splashed all over that packaging, it's marketing, not a guarantee. So the nutrition fact panel and ingredient list will kind of give you a little it'll give you a clearer picture of what's really inside that package you're buying.
hmm So, certified food labels are symbols on packaging that confirm a product meets specific standards, like being organic or fair trade.
Yes, so this is meant to help shoppers choose products based on their values. And we're going to kind of break it down for you a little bit here.
Labels created by outside organizations to ensure the product meets certain rules, like being eco friendly, ethical, or diet compliant.
Yeah, these labels go beyond regular claims by providing the product follows strict standards, giving shoppers that trustworthy guidance.
They make it easier to pick foods that match your preferences and priorities.
Yeah. So I say, why don't you start off and with some examples of certified labels?
Organic. Food labeled organic are regulated by the USDA, and they must have at least 95% organic ingredients and cannot use synthetic pesticides, hormones, or genetic engineering. If a product is made with organic ingredients, it contains at least 70% organic ingredients, but can't use the USDA organic seal.
Certified naturally grown. This is similar to the organic label, but less formal. This label is managed by farmers rather than the USDA, and it verifies natural farming practices without synthetic methods.
Fair trade. Well, this ensures fair wages, safe working conditions, and no child labor in production. Fair trade applies to items like coffee, chocolate, and bananas.
Animal welfare approved. It focuses on the humane treatment of animals raised on family farms. It ensures animals are pasture raised and cared for properly.
American Humane Certified. That verifies that animals are raised with access to clean food, water, and a healthy environment.
And non-GMO project verified. This confirms the product was made without genetically modified ingredients or GMOs.
Grass fed, which usually refers to meat or dairy products, are certified as coming from animals fed only grass or forage without added hormones or antibiotics.
So now let's get into those non-certified labels like hormone free. This indicates no growth hormones were used. However, all chicken is already hormone free by law, so the label adds really no extra value here.
Raised without antibiotics, and this certifies that animals weren't given antibiotics during farming.
Yeah, and then non-GMO, GE free. These labels claim the product is free from genetically modified ingredients, but there's no federal regulation to make sure that it really is.
All natural. This term is often used but lacks a clear universal definition.
And then the big one, free range. And this mainly is for poultry. This means the birds had some outdoor access, but there's no strict legal standard for eggs, beef, or pork. I was just going to say free range, you really got to do some research into the product to make sure if you're really wanting to go free range, you have to do your own homework there.
Right, right. Always read the labels carefully and ask questions to ensure you understand the claims.
So the bottom line here is we're just trying to help you not to fall for the front label buzzwords.
Always read the nutrition facts to make better choices, especially if you're watching your diet for weight loss or health reasons.
And then there's one more label detail that causes a lot of confusion, and that's date labels. And I say before we get into use by dates, let's take a small break.
Sounds good to me.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Looking for your favorite band, team, or TV show, maybe that movie? Since 1969, Old Glory has been the ultimate destination for officially licensed merchandise, with over 300,000 items in music, sports, movies, TVs, and popular culture. And you have Christmas coming up. Have that hard to find person that you're looking for? Check out Old Glory. At checkout, use our exclusive listener discount code and get 15% off any product. All you have to do is put InfoGo in at checkout. That's InfoGo at oldglory.com. You can find the link in the show notes.
Are you too hot at night? Well, say hello to the world's softest sheets. Cozy Earth's bamboo sheet set keeps you cool, dry, and comfy all night long. It's made from bamboo. They're moisture wicking, breathable, and get even softer with every wash. Did you even know that you can make sheets out of bamboo? I didn't. I thought that was awesome. And they have pajama sets. Pure cozy elegance, stylish, silky. Praised on Good Morning America and InStyle and backed by thousands of five-star reviews. You can't beat the 100-night sleep trial and free shipping on over $50 plus a 10-year warranty for sheets. 41% off any product with code INFOGO at CozyEarth.com. Make sure you find the link in the show notes.
All right, so now that we're back, you want to dive into it?
Yep.
All right.
In the US, phrases like sell by, use by, and best if used by mostly refer to food quality, not safety, with one big exception, infant formula.
Yeah, so and you don't want to buy any infant formula if it's, expired or
No.
past its sell by or best used by date. So sell by, this one is mainly meant for stores to tell them exactly how long they can display a product for inventory purposes.
Best if used by suggests when a product will be at peak quality, flavor, or texture.
Yeah, so it's probably still going to be good if it's past its best if used by date. So use by. This is the manufacturer's estimated time of the last day for top quality. Again, except for baby formula, where it's a hard safety deadline. In other words, baby formula, when it hits that deadline, it's take it off the shelf.
Right. And because these labels aren't standardized, many people toss perfectly good food out of caution, which contributes to food waste.
In fact, the USDA estimates that confusion over date labeling is a major driver of the millions of tons of edible food Americans throw away each year. Just think about that. I mean, it's going into the trash, but it's still perfectly good. We have homeless people. I know there's programs out there, but we really need to get more behind programs like that, I would say.
Right. For other countries, they approach this differently. For example, the EU requires a use by date for highly perishable foods where safety is at stake, and best before date for longer lasting items.
The clear distinction helps consumers know when it's a health risk versus when it's just not as fresh. So think of it as getting the full story before you decide.
Well, before we end, as we like to do here on Info on the Go,
What about the rest of the world?
food labeling requirements differ significantly between the US and other countries, particularly in terms of allergen labeling, ingredient listing, and nutrient information.
So, ingredient listing in the US, food additives must be listed on labels by their full names, providing a clear explanation of the ingredient.
In contrast, the European Union, or EU, uses a system of 3 or 4 digit codes called E numbers to identify common food additives.
This difference can make it harder for consumers unfamiliar with E numbers to immediately recognize certain additives on labels from EU food products.
So, allergen labeling. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, mandates labeling of 8 major allergens: milk, eggs, fish, shellfish, tree nuts, wheat, peanuts, and soybeans. These allergens must be clearly identified on U.S. food packaging.
Yeah, because, and during our peanut episode, we talked a lot about peanut allergies.
Mm-hmm.
In the EU, allergen labeling is even more strict. Allergens must be highlighted in the ingredients list, often in bold or underlined text, and ingredients are listed by quantity, descending order, providing additional transparency for consumers. I really like that idea
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because if you have a food allergy and you pick something up and you see peanuts, I mean, it's highlighted and in bold for you. You can't really miss it.
Right. And then, of course, you got nutrient information. There are notable differences in how nutritional information is presented. U.S. nutrition labels indicate sodium content in milligrams.
While EU labels display salt content in grams, reflecting, different conversions. EU labels also tend to use some smaller fonts have more closely spaced lines, and lack a requirement for bold text. So if you're like me and you go to the EU and you don't have your specs on, you're going to struggle.
Real hard.
Yeah.
Okay. Additionally, EU labels often exclude information about certain nutrients, such as saturated fat, fiber, and sugar, that US labels typically provide.
Yeah. So let's talk about the front of the package. The US, the FDA is currently exploring the implementation of front of package labels, which this would really help consumers quickly identify healthier foods.
However, over 40 countries worldwide, including many in Europe, already require front of package labeling systems that prominently display key nutritional information to guide healthier choices.
I think that would be huge, because then you can see the calorie content. Like you could quickly, instead of having to pick it up, flip it over, look if it's on the side or the back or wherever it might be. You can
Right,
just see it as you walk down your aisle.
right.
So genetically modified organisms, GMOs, including those in the EU and the US, they don't have laws requiring labeling for genetically modified foods.
In Europe and elsewhere, GMO labels provide consumers with transparency regarding the use of genetically modified ingredients in food products.
Other differences, European food labels emphasize simplicity and full disclosure of ingredients. Uh, this contrasts with the US labels, which tend to provide more detailed nutritional information, but really lack such simplicity.
European labels also often omit details about certain nutrients, such as saturated fats or fiber, that are commonly included on US food labels.
So you kind of got the pros and cons of both there.
Right.
So these variations highlight the diversity in global food labeling practices, each reflecting different regulatory priorities and approaches for consumer transparency.
And understanding these distinctions can help consumers make more informed decisions when purchasing food products in different countries.
Yeah. So in China and Russia, food labels must be written in local language, Chinese in China and Russian in Russia. Well, I mean, duh.
Yeah. But they also need to provide key details like ingredients, nutritional info, and product origin. And here's a simplified overview. And the required info must include the product name, ingredients, net content, shelf life, storage instructions, manufacturer details, production date, and batch number.
Nutrition facts. Packaged foods must have a list of energy, protein, fat, carbohydrates, and other nutrients.
Allergens. Allergens like peanuts, milk, soy, and wheat must be clearly labeled.
Then you have special terms. Regulations do exist for words like organic or green food.
And then you have approval. The State Administration for Market Regulation oversees labels which need approval before products can be sold.
There are some new standards in China. It's introducing front of package labels with a system for warnings, ratings, and other details. I like that. If you had a warning system or some kind of rating system, like if you're rating food from healthy to junk food, I think that would be a huge game changer, especially here in the US, if you went to that front of label package.
Right.
So Russia, it has required info, and it includes nutrition, origin, and allergens.
And they had new rules that started in July 2025 that codes will appear on certain items like sauces and dried soups.
And then you have food safety labeling and marketing are crucial for food safety regulations. So, that's your Russia breakdown.
Right.
And then let's move over to our Canadian friends over in Newfoundland. Packaged foods must include the name and address of the company responsible, like the importer or manufacturer. I think that should be on every package in every country
Same.
because, man, Like when you open that bag of Lay's potato chips and you got two potato chips in there, doesn't it just make you mad?
Yeah. Labels must be in both English and French, following core labeling requirements.
So then you have nutrition labels, which became mandatory in 2002 for most foods in Canada.
And Canada is introducing front of package labels for products high in saturated fat, sugar, or sodium.
Go Canada. Canadian Food Inspection Agency. This ensures labels are accurate and updated.
And not all foods need labels, and labeling rules can vary.
Wow. So products fully made outside of Canada must state they are imported. So look at, I think that should be in every country too.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I think if it's grown locally, it should be indicated on the package as well.
So, over in India, packaged foods need to show the manufacturer's name and address, ingredients, quantity, manufacturer/expiry dates, and nutrition info.
And they use a color-coded symbol on labels that indicates if the food is vegetarian or non-vegetarian.
That makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense because you do have a lot of vegetarians in India.
hmm And the FSSAI, or Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, sets food standards and oversees labeling rules.
And just to go back to my comment about you have a lot of vegetarians in India, it's because of their religious practices that some people practice. So
Right,
I wasn't trying to throw shade or anything. I guess I should have just called out due to religious beliefs and practices. You have more vegetarians.
right.
Anyway, so all food products must display the FSSAI logo and license number. So basically, they have a license number. You can't just go and step that logo on there.
Right.
Verify.
India is also planning front of package labeling system to warn consumers about high levels of fat, salt, or sugar in processed foods.
Yeah, I mean, I really like this front of packaging labeling. I don't I don't see companies really wanting to get behind it though.
Right,
Some companies anyway.
right.
So in Japan, food labels must be written in Japanese and include key details about the product.
So their required info is labels must show the product name, list of ingredients, including allergens, manufacturer/importer details, net weight, best before or expiration date, and storage instructions.
Hmm. So, nutrition details. In Japan, labels provide nutritional information per 100-gram, listing energy, protein, fat, carbs, and salt. Saturated fat and dietary fiber are recommended, but they're not mandatory to be listed in Japan. And also, percent daily value, it's not included in the Japanese labels.
So, in allergy labeling, packaged foods must highlight seven major allergens: eggs, milk, wheat, buckwheat, peanuts, shrimp, and crab. And this is often shown in brackets after the ingredient list or in a chart.
Yeah, I think that's another call out. Like they're going on and calling out if you have one of these allergies, it's easy to identify the ingredients. Then you have storage info. Labels must state how to store the product, whether it be refrigerated, frozen, warm, dark place, whatever. And but it helps and it must also warn about possible cross contamination. Like don't put this near X, Y, or Z.
Right. One recent change in the US allergen rules is worth mentioning, though. For years, the FDA required that labels clearly identify the big eight allergens, milk, eggs, fish, shellfish, tree nuts, peanuts, wheat, and soybeans. But in January 2023, sesame officially became the ninth major allergen under the FASTER Act, Food Allergy Safety Treatment Education and Research Act.
Why sesame?
Well, reports showed a sharp increase in sesame allergies, especially in children, and sesame wasn't always clearly labeled. It could hide under terms like spices or natural flavors.
That makes a lot of sense. That's a good little factoid you got there.
Factoid.
Now, manufacturers must list sesame for the same way they would for peanuts or milk, whether it's whole seeds or on a bun or sesame oil. That's in the sauce.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess they covered all their bases there.
Right. The US list still isn't as long as the European Union's Big 14 allergens, which also include celery, mustard, lupin, mollusks, and sulfur dioxides or sulfites. And those ingredients that pop up more often in European diets and packaged foods.
Celery,
Celery.
celery is like 90% water. I'm almost certain of that.
Yeah, but there's other things in celery too. Like
Yeah,
whatever it's made out of, whatever, I guess, type of chlorophyll or something.
yeah. I mean, that's which, to be honest with you, I don't eat a lot of celery, so and I hate it if the person is allergic to celery and they really love it. That would be bad.
I hate that for anybody who has food
It-
allergies.
yeah, absolutely, I do. Especially peanuts because there's a lot of things that contain peanuts.
And
Uh,
a lot of things and like a lot of fries or stuff that's fried in fast food places, they fry in peanut oil, which I think they've kind of cut back on the peanut oil in some establishments, but yeah.
yeah, yeah, that would be horrible.
And
Mm.
then of course, like I do like shrimp, so a shellfish allergy would put a damper in my shrimp life. And that's the case for my mother-in-law.
I love shrimp too. Are you allergic to shrimp?
I am not. She is. So we have to make sure if we're all eating together and somebody eats or like orders any kind of shellfish that they cook them separately
Uh,
because she can't even have her food cooked after it.
So the Codex Alimentarius, which is also known as the World Food Code, um, this is a collection of internationally recognized food standards, guidelines, and codes of practice. Did you even know there was such a thing?
I did not.
Okay.
But it was established in 1963 by the Food and Agriculture Organization, or FAO, and the World Health Organization.
And we like to call them here on the show who?
Yes, the WHO, as part of their International Food Standards Program.
Yeah, so the Codex serves as the foundation for ensuring food safety, quality, and fairness in international food trade.
But here's a closer look into its significance and functions. The purpose of the Codex.
Yeah, so harmonizing food standards worldwide, right? So the Codex, it facilitates a unified approach to food labeling, safety, and trade by creating guidelines that countries can adapt or adopt to. And this really helps reduce barriers in international food trade.
And then you have consumer protection. It ensures that the food reaching consumers is safe, correctly labeled, and of good quality, reducing the risk of health hazards.
So the Codex really helps support fair trade practices, through standards that make international food trade more consistent and transparent. And this benefits both importing and exporting countries by providing a common framework for regulations.
And then, of course, the foundation for national policies. Many countries use Codex guidelines as a basis for developing their own national food safety and labeling standards, and it provides a reliable reference point for shaping local policies.
Yeah, so let's kind of go over some things that we talked about here. We've got the Codex, which encompasses a wide range of food related topics. Like I don't know. What do you think?
Food labeling,
That's a good one.
the guidelines for ingredient lists, and then, of course, the food safety standards.
Yeah, and that's rules to maximize levels of contaminants, pesticide residues, and food additives.
And then the nutritional guidelines, and that's the recommendations for essential nutrients and nutrition labeling.
And then hygiene practices, right? So it sets standards for maintaining cleanliness and safety during food production and handling. That one is a huge one for me.
Yes. And specific food categories, standards for items like dairy, seafood, fruits, vegetables, cereals, and oils.
So the Codex is a key reference for the World Trade Organization, and it helps in resolving trade disputes involving food safety and quality.
And if two countries disagree over food standards and trade, the codex is often used to determine fair practices.
Yeah, so participation in Codex is it's voluntary, and its standards are not legally binding.
However, many nations adopt these guidelines because they reflect globally accepted practices and facilitate smoother trade.
So the Codex Alimentarius is continuously being updated to reflect advancements in nutrition science, technology, food production methods, whatever's happening in one country that makes sense for the Codex to kind of get behind and.
Right. And then, of course, there's the committees of experts and representatives from member countries, which collaborate to review and propose new standards.
So the Codex isn't just about setting rules. It's really about creating trust in a global food system. As the world continues on, that's going to be huge because we're going to have to import and export foods because, we're an ever-growing population.
For sure. And, this also helps by promoting safety and fairness, and it plays a crucial role in ensuring consumers worldwide can confidently choose and enjoy their food.
Food was mine. Why would you take it? But anyway, I mean, I thought this was very fascinating. Hopefully, you got something out of it this holiday season when you're out buying. But yeah, oftentimes I'll grab that grab bag of chips or I'll grab something and they kind of package it for single serve, especially here in the US. But then when you flip it over and you read it, it's like four.
Right. Well, I mean, they have the smallest bags on the shelf all the way up to the biggest bags on the shelf. So it's misleading to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, I mean, soda, I try not to drink a lot of carbon. I know I joke a lot about Coke, but Coke is my go-to. It's better than Pepsi. But anyway, it has those have a lot of sugar and not to even mention like the energy drinks. Oh my. Like you could blow your whole daily value out right there.
For sure. For sure. And that's, a lot of times if you just cut out sodas and when you're trying to cut out sugars, like you'll lose a significant amount of weight. And even if it's the artificial sugars or anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. But like I said, I found this to be extremely fascinating. The 2000 daily value. I always knew that that was just a percentage, but if you want to figure out what your daily value is, you can actually look that up based on your age, weight, and gender and your activity sources.
Right.
That's pretty much all I've got, Kat.
Same. If you would like to support this podcast, tell a friend and help get the word out.
Yeah, if you would like to help us keep the show going, you can do so at Patreon. You can find the link in the show notes.
William and I want to thank you for listening for our old listeners and ones that are just tuning in.
Yes, thank you.
Join the Facebook group at Info on the Go
Share with us your show ideas.
or ask us a question.
Subscribe and follow us wherever you get your podcast.
Send us a text using the link in the show notes or leave a review.
It really does help others find us. You can also email us at,
infoonthegopodcast@gmail.com.
and yes, that is all one word. Till next time.
Stay curious.